My mom kicked me out when I was 15. Now she's homeless and I won't let her live with me. So here's a summary of what she put me through to remind me why she can't live with me. When I was just 2 years old, my parents divorced. Soon after, my mother married a 19-year-old boy when she was 34 years old. For the next 12 years, both my mother and this new stepfather would terrorize and abuse me and my sister. The abuse started early. When I was only 3 years old, I was sexually assaulted by a babysitter, and my mother knew about it but did nothing. About a year later, she beat me mercilessly with a yardstick, breaking it over my body, all because I had sleepwalked and had an accident on a chair. Not long after, my stepfather began locking my sister and I in a closet overnight, denying us food, water, and access to the bathroom, so he could smoke weed and cheat on my mother. This continued until I was in kindergarten and finally told a teacher, leading to a CPS investigation. However, my mother simply pulled me out of school entirely, and I didn't return until 4th grade. The violence only escalated from there. When I was 6 years old, I witnessed my stepfather stab my mother in the face with a knife, as she was 5 to 6 months pregnant. He was arrested for attempted murder, but incredibly, my mother fought to have him released from jail. After he got out, he started stripping me naked and brutally beating me, not even letting me cover my private parts, and hitting me there as well. This continued for years, until I was 12 years old. My mother would either watch or simply ignore the abuse. On top of the physical and sexual abuse, I was also forced to take care of my young brother from the age of 7, changing his diapers and feeding him, as well as doing all the household chores since I was just 4 years old. Whenever I was enrolled in school, my mother would encourage me to fight any bullies, and would proudly take me to McDonald's when I inevitably got suspended. The punishments were severe as well. My stepfather would force me and my sister to stand in the corner for up to 8 hours at a time, for minor things like talking after bedtime. When I was 9, my mother bit my hand until it nearly drew blood, just because I had accidentally scratched a new table while doing the dishes. At 10, I was molested and strangled by the same babysitter, and my mother was there but didn't even notice. A year later, my stepfather busted my lip twice and bashed my head into a car window, all because they didn't have a certain video game at GameStop. The abuse kept escalating. My stepfather started, secretly, watching me get dressed and recording me, and even strangled my sister. When I was 13, he lifted me over his head and threw me, nearly out the window. My mother called me a horrible slur for having a hair-pulling disorder, and ripped out my weave, forcing me and my sister to put it back in until 6 a.m. At 13, my mother actually told me to become a prostitute, claiming I was too old for her to take care of. When I told her my stepfather was watching me undress, she said, "You're lucky he didn't rape you," and let it continue. The torture went on until I was 15, when my sister and I told our mother it was him or us. She kicked us out, telling our godfather to take us and that she hoped he'd leave us to die in the snow. We ended up in a teen homeless shelter, then foster care, where our awful mother kidnapped our brother and went on the run for 3 years. After that, I went to live with my grandmother, where I was abused and molested by my own father. When I was 20, he actually tried to rape me, breaking my jaw and shoulder. I moved back in with my mother, only for her to try and throw bleach in my face and force me to cook for my abusive stepfather. Now, my younger brother lives with me, as our mother has relapsed on drugs and alcohol and been evicted from her home. I'm trying to get him placed in foster care, but the system is refusing to help, claiming they can't take a kid just because their mom is poor. My mother has even asked to move in with me, but I've refused. If I had to deal with this at 15, she can do it at 54.